The real story of Malaysia Airlines Flight 17. It began with a voice, raspy, hurried, breaking the usual static of the control tower in Amsterdam. Tell them not to fly east. Something is wrong over Donetsk. But no one heard it. Or rather, no one wanted to. Too many schedules, too many lives already strapped into seatbelts, oblivious to the ominous pulse in the air. Flight MH17, a Boeing 777, sat gleaming in the July sunlight, its paint kissed by morning dew and promise. On board, 298 passengers, including a retired Dutch intelligence agent named Erik van Molen and a Malaysian investigative journalist, Amira Yusuf, who had just published a report on covert arms deals in Eastern Europe. Coincidence? Perhaps. They didn't know each other yet. But they were both being watched. Amira sat by the window in seat 17A, her fingers resting lightly on her laptop. Unbeknownst to her, Erik was 4 rows back, seat 21D, quietly scanning the cabin like it was a chessboard. She looked out over the tarmac, fingers trembling slightly. A message had come in just before boarding. Don't fly. Your name is on a list. But her story couldn't wait. What she had uncovered pointed fingers at powerful people, people who profited from chaos. She had spent 2 years chasing names, accounts, and voices in the shadows. This was supposed to be her way out. Erik, meanwhile, wasn't just flying to Kuala Lumpur for retirement. He carried a black USB drive hidden inside a hollowed-out travel toothbrush, proof of intercepted military communications over Ukraine. He didn't trust digital transfers anymore. Too many accidents. And somewhere in the cargo hold, there was something else, something no one had declared. The plane ascended into the blue, drinks were served, and nervous laughter echoed down the aisles. But deep in the airspace near eastern Ukraine, something was watching, radar screens blinking, tracking, predicting. In a dark room in Rostov, a man in uniform stared at the screen. He was known only as the Ghost, a former GRU operative turned rogue. Officially disavowed, unofficially lethal. Target confirmed, he muttered. Box 17. The box didn't mean the plane, it meant the black case in the hold. A shipment added at the last moment in Amsterdam under diplomatic tags. But they didn't know it had been switched. Amira's source had swapped the boxes, one filled with documentation, the other with something far more dangerous. A warhead prototype. And now, 2 intelligence services, 3 private military contractors, and a Russian ex-operative were all converging on a single doomed plane. The crew noticed Erik moving. He wasn't hiding his concern anymore. He slipped into the galley and intercepted a flight attendant. There's a box in your hold. It doesn't belong to anyone on this manifest. She blinked. Sir, please return to your seat. But then Amira walked in, her curiosity piqued. What's in the box? You're not just a passenger, are you? Erik narrowed his eyes. Neither are you. The two realized their investigations overlapped. Different leads, same rabbit hole. They compared notes on a napkin. Weapons transfers, false flag operations, and someone named Vazd, the leader, pulling strings from the Kremlin shadows. That's when the plane shuddered. Not turbulence. A lock-on signal had been received. On a different continent, screens blinked and code words flashed. Deliver judgment. Airspace breach. Proceed. Back in the cockpit, the pilots received a warning. But it was too late. A Buk missile had already launched from somewhere near Snizhny. But here's what the world never knew. It wasn't aimed at the plane. It was aimed at the hold. The Ghost didn't want civilians to die. He wanted the warhead destroyed before it got into the wrong hands. But the guidance system, old, hacked, unpredictable, locked on to the heat signature of the engine. In 17A, Amira saw Erik's face drain of color. It's coming, he said, pulling out the toothbrush. We're not the target. The thing in the hold is. Amira's heart pounded. Then we get rid of it. They raced to the rear, broke into the emergency panel, and yanked open the cargo override system. Red light. Manual ejection. Erik pried open the panel as alarms blared. But they were seconds too late. At 33,000 feet, the explosion tore the fuselage like paper. But this story doesn't end there. Because Erik and Amira survived, barely. They were seated near an exit. When the shockwave blew it open, they were sucked out, but a falling catering cart struck a piece of falling fuselage, and the debris created a windbreak that kept them from immediate death. 2 hours later, in a sunflower field outside Rabov, a farmer found them, broken, bleeding, but breathing. The world called MH17 a tragedy. And it was. But 2 survivors were smuggled out before the wreckage was cleared. NATO denied it. Russia called it propaganda. A year later, in a hidden location in Iceland, a video surfaced on the dark web. 2 faces, Erik and Amira. Amira spoke first. "You've been told flight MH17 was a mistake. A result of conflict." Erik held up the black toothbrush. "It was a warning. A failed heist. A war nearly started by a box that never should have flown." They revealed everything: the arms network, the double agents, the order that was never supposed to be given. Their message ended with a chilling line. "It will happen again. Unless someone listens." Then the video disappeared. Authorities denied its authenticity. And soon after, Erik and Amira vanished again, ghosts among secrets. But whistleblowers whisper their names like a prayer. And the truth still flies in shadows. The end.